What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken. Today, guys, we are here to talk about the Monster Squad on 4K from Kino Lorber. Yes, I finally got this in. It's a couple of weeks late. I ordered it from Grindhouse. It's my fault, though, because I didn't order it till I think a week before the release date. And with Kino Lorber, guys, you gotta order in advance, preferably from their website. But I was having issues ordering from their website, so I found a copy on Grindhouse. And forget about it if you order from Amazon, because you won't get their releases until like January or February, 2 months after they release. So I don't like that about Kino Lorber. But what I do like about Kino Lorber is they do cool releases like the Monster Squad on 4K. So we're going to talk about it here today, because I did promise everybody in my November tier list that when I got the Monster Squad in, I would talk about it and give my thoughts on the film, because this is a first time watch for me. I had never seen the Monster Squad before, and there's a lot of stuff on this channel, guys, that's a first time watch for me. I don't know how I missed the Monster Squad, but I just did. So I was excited to watch this one. Really, truly was excited to watch this. We're going to talk about the film itself, because this was a first time viewing experience for me. We're going to talk about the transfer, how it compares to some of the past Blu-ray releases. And yeah, features. This has the documentary Wolfman's Got Nards on it, so that was really cool. They included that. Do an unboxing, talk about the audio, all this stuff, guys. We're going to paint the overall picture, and I'm going to let you know if Monster Squad on 4K is worth picking up. But before we get into it, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, let me know your thoughts on the Monster Squad down below in the comment section. This is a big movie. A lot of people are excited about it. I know a lot of people love this movie and are super nostalgic for it. So let's get into my thoughts on the actual film. So Monster Squad is a film that came out in 1987. It is directed by Fred Deckard, who didn't direct a ton of movies. He did Night of the Creeps, which came out the year before this, and then he did the Monster Squad. So he didn't direct a ton of films. He was primarily a writer. He's a credited writer on the movie House from 1985, which I grew up with that film. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, Fred Deckard, I have watched pretty much his two most notable movies with this and Night of the Creeps. And I will say, I like this movie. I did like this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun, but I did not love this movie. And I feel like part of that is due to not growing up with this film. I feel like it's a very nostalgia-driven film, and kind of a, you had to be there, you had to grow up with this film, you had to be a part of the Monster Squad craze, and it's just one of those type of movies. And often when I go back and watch these beloved classics that more lean towards children, I would say, because the Monster Squad really is at its core, it's a kids movie. It's a kids adventure movie. It's these kids that, you know, discover that the monsters are living among them, and they form a squad, a club, to try to take them down. So, and it's definitely riffing off of the Universal monsters. Obviously, you have Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman. You got the Creature from the Black Lagoon here. You have the Mummy. It's a fun story. I'm not saying it's not a fun movie. I didn't enjoy watching it, but I didn't get the, like, there's people that say this is like one of their favorite movies of all time. I didn't get that quite level of appeal watching this film, but it is a fun movie. I did enjoy it. I really appreciated the makeup effects in this. You know, I think that Stan Winston's crew actually came in and did the makeup effects on this. I think he did all the designs from what I was watching, the Wolfman Got Nards, because I did watch most of that documentary. But his crew came in, did all the design work for the monsters. And it was funny to hear him talk about it, because they didn't really have the rights to do the monsters like Dracula, Frankenstein, even though they did call the vampire Dracula. So they had Van Helsing in the movie as well. So I don't know exactly where, you know, that line was drawn between them being able to do some of the stuff that they did, riffing off the monsters, and what they could do and what they couldn't do. So that was definitely interesting. But like, they had to make them look different than the classic look. So all of them look like, you know who they are, but they look different than the classic Universal monsters. But I thought they did a great job. That was easily the part that I appreciated about this film the most, was the creature design, was the monster design, the special effects, the makeup effects. I thought was all fantastic. And I did like the kids in the movie, and nobody is like really, there's no like huge stars in this movie. Maybe there's kids that popped up in other films of this time. But the movie doesn't have Corey Feldman in it, which is kind of surprising, because Corey Feldman was like in every single kids adventure movie in the 80s. You got Goonies, Gremlins, like he just showed up, Lost Boys. He showed up in everything. So it's kind of surprising that Feldman, I guess he was busy. He was doing a lot of stuff. didn't pop up in this movie. I mean, Stand By Me he's in. Like, he's literally, Corey Feldman is literally in every single, like, kids adventure film, I feel like, except the Monster Squad. So I guess they couldn't afford Feldman for this film. But I kind of like that there's nobody, like, truly notable in this film, because it does make this film feel very standalone. And I guess maybe that's the appeal of it for some people as well. But yeah, no real, like, super notable stars. The guy that plays Frankenstein, Tom Noonan, I believe is his name. He is the villain from The Last Action Hero, so he's maybe the only star in this movie that I actually know from other stuff, at least off the top of my head. I'm sure there's some other people as well. The movie's also written by Shane Black. Him and Fred Deckard wrote the script for this movie, and then Fred Deckard directed the film. So I think that the script is pretty good. I like the kid interactions. They all feel very natural and like kids would behave of this time period, so I really appreciate that about the movie as well. It was just the story, I guess, for me, more or less. It was just kind of just felt like an excuse to get the monsters in the modern world and had the kids fight them, and it wasn't that interesting to me. The actual story, I felt like they could have done something a little bit more with it, and it's very short. It's only like 82 minutes, which, to be honest, I kind of appreciate shorter movies at this point in my life, but it didn't feel like the movie ever kicked into high gear. I felt like with all of these classic monsters and just what they could have done and what they actually did with the story, I just felt like there could have been more to it. But I did appreciate a lot of aspects of this movie. I liked the whole angle with Frankenstein and how he wasn't a bad guy. And I like the whole scene with him coming up on the girl with at the pond, and they're obviously playing on what happened in the original Frankenstein. Throws the girl in the pond, but in this movie, he just becomes like her best friend, and she brings him back to the boys, and he's a part of the crew. So I like that part of the movie as well. I thought Tom Noonan really played the part well, you know, really added that sensitivity to the Frankenstein role that I also appreciated. So yeah, I don't know exactly what else I want to say about this movie. I enjoyed it. I did love the movie, but I thought it was a lot of fun, and I get the appeal. Like, if I would have watched this movie when I was 10, like 9 or 10 years old, and I'd grown up with it, it probably would be like one of my favorite movies of all time. So I get it. Like, I love the movie Sidekicks. Admittedly, that's not a great movie, but I love that movie because I grew up with it. So yeah, the Monster Squad, I get it. I get its appeal, but for me, watching it at 38 years old, it didn't quite hit like I wanted it to. Now, getting into the 4K picture quality here, this is a native 4K restoration from the original 35mm camera negative. You have Dolby Vision, you have HDR10, and I honestly thought that the 4K presentation here was okay. I thought it looked good for what it was, but a lot of this movie is kind of out of focus, and that's probably has more to do with how the film was made, how it was shot, but I just couldn't appreciate fully the 4K transfer in the restoration because a lot of stuff in the background, I'm looking at it and it's just very blurry. So I think it has more to do with how the film was made, how it was shot, and there's some other sequences in the film which I didn't feel like were as cleaned up as they probably should have been, but I don't know if Kino Lorber is to blame there. They probably did the best they could because Kino Lorber always usually does a great job with their 4K restorations. And some of the sequences in this film, you know, with the special makeup effects and things like that, when the 4K is really kicking into high gear and really performing like it should, and you can see everything like you're supposed to see everything, I thought it looked great. Like the HDR, the Dolby Vision, you know, really enhanced some of those colors and some of those sequences. And like I said, the makeup effects of some of the monsters in this movie look fantastic, and in 4K, they look even better. So this is a good 4K transfer, I would say. I'm not trying to crap on it by any means, but I think it has more to do just with how this movie was made. Maybe it can never look any better than it does right here, but I just wasn't super impressed with the overall 4K presentation here, which, to be honest, if you have one of the Blu-ray releases from the past already in your collection, there was a Lionsgate Blu-ray that came out back in 2009. There was an Olive Films Blu-ray release that came out back in 2013. It's hard for me to truly recommend the upgrade here because I was going back and looking at the reviews for both of those Blu-rays, and both of those reviews were very positive. Said the movie looked really good with both of those Blu-ray transfers. But I was reading the review for the one in 2009, had the same problems with the blurring effect in the background. But again, that probably has more to do with how the film was actually shot. So I don't know if this is going to be a huge upgrade because, to be honest, I've never seen the movie. I've never seen the Olive films. I've never seen the Lionsgate releases. So I don't know how good those are in comparison to this 4K. I will say the HDR definitely, makes those, colors a little bit deeper, enhances the overall vibrancy of some of the sequences with those colors. So I think that the 4K probably is, better than those Blu-ray releases. But is it that much more of an improvement to recommend the full-on upgrade here? Now, this also has a Blu-ray from Kino Lorber. There is a separate Blu-ray release with the 4K scan. So if you don't have Monster Squad at all, that will be the cheapest way to go for you to get Monster Squad in your collection, because I think that's going for like $17.99 for just the Blu-ray release. Whereas both of these Blu-rays, the Lionsgate Blu-ray is going for $50 right now on Amazon, and the Olive Films release, I believe, is going for $24.99. So that's still the cheapest way to go if you just want to get this movie on Blu-ray. But I do think that the 4K looks good. The black levels are definitely really solid in the movie. The grain structure is fine. Like, the clarity in this is good. But like I said, some of the background, I just wanted to see more. I wanted to be able to see more of the overall picture, and I felt like I was missing out on stuff because of that background blurring effect in some of the sequences. It's not in every scene, but I just noticed it far too much for my own particular taste. So yeah, the Monster Squad on 4K is a good transfer, but it is not great to me. And I know some people that love this movie are probably going to be disappointed by that. Now, getting into the audio here, this does have the 5.1 and the 2.0 audio setup. I thought everything sounded good for my ears and my sound system. I'm just listening to this on a soundbar that can kind of simulate that 5.1, and I got the subwoofer. And this movie has a great soundtrack, a great rock soundtrack. Rock Until You Drop is a great track in this. There's a whole sequence with that just sounds great. So with the soundtrack and the overall sound quality of this film, I thought everything sounded great. So no issues with the sound on my end. And getting into the packaging here, I really like this new artwork by Kino Lorber. I believe that's new artwork right there. It's kind of, the same as the original poster, but a little bit different, a little bit enhanced, it looks like. But I do like that artwork quite a bit with the font down at the bottom with the Monster Squad. You got the banner at the top. Flip it to the back, you can see the synopsis of the film, and then you got all the special features and specs, which we'll get into here in a second, casting list, all that good stuff. Take it out of the slipcover, and you have that artwork on the inside as well. Flip it around, you got all the same stuff on the back. Open it up. You have the 3 discs in this set. This is a 3-disc set. You got the Wolfman Got Nards on 1 disc. You got the Monster Squad on Blu-ray, and you have the Monster Squad on 4K, and all the special features are on the Blu-ray disc, not the 4K disc. And you also get reversible cover art here with the original Monster Squad poster artwork, which I can definitely appreciate as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the special features. I definitely thought it was cool that they included that Wolfman's Got Nards documentary from 2018. There's a ton of people in that documentary. You got Heather Langenkamp in that documentary randomly talking about the movie. You got Fred Decker, the director. You got Shane Black in the documentary. A lot of cool, but Seth Green is talking about the movie in the documentary as well. So there's a ton of people talking about this movie in the documentary, talking about its legacy, what it meant to them. They go into an in-depth look at all the special makeup effects and what went into that. So it's a really good documentary. I watched almost all of it. But it was a really good documentary. It's super awesome that they included that with this release, because you can watch that documentary on Tubi, so you don't need this release. But if you want it physically, I believe there's a release for $19.99. So the fact that they included that here definitely adds a lot of value to this release. And this is going for $32.99. So I think with adding that documentary, that really takes care of a lot of the value of this release beyond just watching the movie on 4K, which, like I said, looks good, but just not great. So really cool that they included that. You also have 2 audio commentaries here. I don't think either one of them are new, though. Audio commentary with director Fred Deckard, cinematographer Bradford May. You got an audio commentary with the Fred Deckard director, actors Andrew Gower, who plays the lead kid in the movie, Ryan Lambert and Ashley Bank. You also have Monster Squad Forever, another documentary that I believe was new to the Lionsgate Blu-ray release that came out back in 2009. It says Lionsgate when it starts. So that's about 70 minutes. And I watched about 30 minutes of that. That's also a really good in-depth documentary about the making of the movie. And you also have a conversation with Frankenstein, an archival piece with Tom Noonan, where he's dressed up as Frankenstein and he's actually like speaking as the character of Frankenstein, but also kind of method acting his way through that interview. And that's a really cool kind of interview with him talking about the movie through the perspective of him playing Frankenstein. So that's a cool interview. And that was filmed in 1986. So it was like an on-set interview with him in full makeup. So that was a cool interview. You have deleted scenes, you have still gallery, animated storyboard sequences. So there's some really good features on here, tons of audio commentaries. Overall, guys, look, I think this is a good release. I really think it's a good, solid release. I wanted more from the transfer, but everything else is great. If you're a big Monster Squad fan, to have all of this Monster Squad material in one location and one solid release is probably worth it to you to pick up this release. Again, $32.99. But if you order this off of Amazon, you're probably going to be waiting until late January, early February to get this in, I think is what it said for me the last time I tried to order this before it came out. So yeah, the Monster Squad on 4K, guys, I think it's worth it, especially if you're a fan of this film. Pick it up if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching this review of Monster Squad. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, comment down below your thoughts on the film. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.